Pets Add Life, your guide to the latest in pet trends, products, and the joy of the human-animal bond, with Kristen Levine and Chris Bonafati, powered by the American Pet Products Association and Dog TV.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the PAL podcast. I am Chris Bonafati, joined as always by the exceptional and extraordinary Kristen Levine. Kristen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, but you sound a little sniffly.
Yeah, it's November. It's finally gotten cold here. Like, we had a lot of warm weather through October and the beginning of November, and last night we finally got below freezing, and it's hit me full on.
It hit you hard.
Yeah, dear listeners, don't you worry about little old Chris. I've got plenty of Sudafed in me. I've had my caffeine. I had a nice buttered roll for breakfast, so nothing can stop me. I'm honestly unstoppable. You give me a buttered roll, caffeine, and Sudafed, and I can make the magic happen that way.
Buttered roll, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's very, very, Metro New York of me to go to the gas station and get a buttered roll and to trust it, because I feel like when you're in New York, metro area, saying you get your breakfast from a gas station is normal. But if I said that to somebody from Texas, they'd be like, "Are you insane? Are you insane?"
It's true.
It's just the way of life up here. Still haven't gotten a haircut either. For everybody watching us on YouTube, I've decided to let the flow go. So if you're not watching us on YouTube, you should be, because it's the best way to take the show in. If you're not watching us on YouTube or Dog TV, you're not getting the full.
Are you going for the man bun? Are you going for letting it grow long enough for a man bun?
I think the man bun is. I think I'm too old for it. I think both the man bun in and of itself is past its prime, and I think I'm past my prime.
That makes me think of something. Isn't November, isn't that a month where guys grow beards or something? Or
correct. Yeah. I actually do participate in Movember, the Movember Foundation for men's physical and mental health. So that's why the curly mustache always comes back around November, because I go places and people ask about it, and then I could make them give me money for men's health.
It's all making sense now.
Which is great. So, hey, listen, dudes out there, if you're listening, it is Men's Health Month, so go to the doctor. You're supposed to go once a year. Might as well go in November. Go have them check you out. If you're not feeling right, talk to somebody. Just say, hey, I'm not feeling right. Because it could be nothing. It could be something. So that's my soapbox. Right. But let's get on to why we're here today, right? We've got a show to do, Kristen.
We do. And I just want to quickly mention that November is also, and I'm surprised we haven't brought it up until middle of November at the time of this recording, but it's also Senior Pet Month. So,
I've got a senior pet.
I know you do. I was going to ask you if you've done anything special to celebrate the distinguished Miss Tiger.
I don't know, but she has been on my nerves lately. I'll tell you that much. She has been. So she was pretty sick recently, and she wasn't eating, but she's come around entirely. And now she's putting weight on, and she will not leave me alone. She wants to be fed. It's like she's young again. She wants to just keep on eating and eating and eating. And she's figured out that the best way to get my attention is to get on the bed that's behind where I usually sit to work, and then stretch out onto my chair and just start pawing the back of my head and my shoulder. And she knows that I just can't concentrate. She does that for about a minute or so, and then she gets whatever she wants because I'm a sucker.
You are a sucker. Well, I'm glad to hear she's feeling much better.
She is. It's always scary when your older pet gets sick, but that's why we have the whole month of November to celebrate.
That's right.
So we've got a great show today. We've got, as always, we're bringing you 2 awesome stories, 2 excellent guests, 2 fantastic product recommendations, and at the end of the show, we're going to answer 2 questions from you, our wonderful audience. So I believe that takes care of housekeeping formalities and just general debauchery. And we can go ahead and get into this week's episode of the PAL Podcast.
Kristen and Chris present Storytime.
Okay, I'm going to kick off Storytime, Chris, and my story is about National Senior Pet Month, which is also known as Adopt a Senior Pet Month. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the benefits to adopting a senior pet. But I first wanted to share a little story about one of my favorite nonprofit organizations, and it's called Gray Muzzle. And Gray Muzzle is an organization that improves the lives of at-risk senior dogs. And they do that by providing funding and resources to animal shelters, rescue groups, and sanctuaries that have senior dogs. So I've been a fan. I just learned that they're in Raleigh, North Carolina. I didn't know where they were located, but that's close enough for me to hop in the car and go visit one day. So I think I'm going to do that. But I just wanted to also mention that senior dogs, when they end up in shelters, their chance of getting adopted is obviously not as great as a younger dog. They say one I can't say statistic. One number states that just over 50% of senior pets in shelters actually find homes. I personally thought that was a little high. I hope it's 50% at least. And so it's really important that senior dogs get highlighted, and senior cats too. Gray Muzzle is just for senior dogs, but obviously adopting senior cats is important as well. And so I just thought, if you're looking for a way to support senior pets, obviously you can adopt one, but if you can't adopt, you can certainly volunteer at a local shelter. You can support the Gray Muzzle organization with a donation, and just join their mailing list. They put out a great newsletter. They share stories about their seniors, and it's always really uplifting. And then I wanted to leave you all with a few of the benefits of adopting a senior pet. Because let's face it, most people, when they want to adopt a pet, they go looking for either a puppy or, maybe an adult dog or cat that's maybe a year old or so. But senior pets are typically calmer. They already have their personalities established. So kind of what you see is what you get with a senior pet. Also, many of them are already house trained, or they might even know some basic commands from their previous home. And this month of November, most shelters and rescues will have discounts on senior pet adoption. So that's a way to save money. And they're more content with a quiet, laid-back lifestyle. They don't typically need as much exercise as a younger dog or cat. So if you're, looking for kind of a chill pet, adopting a senior pet might be the way to go. So that's what I wanted to share with you all. Not really a story, but more of just an opportunity to get on my senior pet soapbox.
I think it was a story. I think that counts. We're going to tally it up. I mean, Tiger didn't come into my life until she was 19.
Wow.
Yeah, she's my wife's high hope. She's my wife's childhood cat. She got her in the fourth grade.
That's right.
And yeah, Tiger and I didn't share a living environment together until 2 years ago. And it was very rewarding to have a very relaxed and calming presence in my home. So I would recommend it for anybody who may be thinking about it. Go ahead and pull the trigger. Go to the shelter and see who you might be able to help out. As always, Kristen, I'm going to completely foil your story with something ridiculous I found.
We always have a completely opposite vibe.
I know it's so strange, but like sometimes we got. That's why we have two hosts on this show. It would have been fun if we were the same person, but so unfortunately, I found this on Reddit. Which of course Chris uses Reddit. For those of you who don't know, Reddit is essentially a posting board for the internet where people could post stuff. But this post has since been deleted, so I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to link to it. But I had it saved and bookmarked because it was so ridiculous. Essentially, this person had to unbury their cat because their cat is an outdoor cat and got outside, and the cat found its way into like a groundhog tunnel and wound up like 3 feet underground and lost.
Oh my gosh.
And they were outside and heard the meows coming from underground. And they had to literally dig and get to this cat. So the cat was really only missing for a few hours. They took the cat to the vet. The cat was completely fine, obviously frazzled and shocked at the experience. But I'm so upset that it's deleted because there was
Why
a
was it
picture.
deleted?
It's because if anybody here uses Reddit, they know that the moderators of Reddit are just tyrants. They're just the worst people.
Yeah.
And because the way Reddit works, there's like subreddits, they call them. And because this post didn't fit in perfectly with what this subreddit was about, it got deleted. But there's this picture of this cat and just the face sticking up out of the ground.
Oh.
And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And the guy was saying, he's like, yeah, we have a groundhog problem on our property. And we've given up on trying to do anything about it. And I guess, cats, there are cats that like to dig. I know that's typically like a dog thing that people associate with dogs, but cats like caves and tunnels just as much as anybody else. So this cat found their way into a network of tunnels, got lost, and just started screaming.
I'm really glad you brought up that story because we have had a groundhog problem earlier, this summer, and the holes that they dig are about the size that definitely a cat could get into. And, we all know cats like cozy spaces. So I'm glad that you shared that with me. That's something I'll have to be on the lookout. I don't have a cat right now, but we do have a couple of neighborhood cats that people have that are indoor, outdoor. So I'm going to put the warning signs out for that.
Yeah, yes. And if you hear a meow coming from below ground, no, it is not the devil trying to tempt you. It may be your cat. So start digging.
Beyond the Leash, exploring the untold stories of pet passion and professionalism.
All right, we are thrilled to welcome Cynthia Chomos, the founder of Catio Spaces, a company dedicated to creating safe and beautiful outdoor enclosures, or catios, for cats. And I'm sure all of our listeners have seen these all over the internet. But over the past decade, Cynthia has combined her expertise as a feng shui consultant, designer, and cat lover to enrich the lives of cats and protect wildlife. Inspired by her own tabby, Serena, Cynthia has pioneered a movement that provides cats with safe outdoor experiences while giving peace of mind to cat parents everywhere. And in addition to all of that, Cynthia is a fantastic advocate for senior pets. And November, as we mentioned at the top of the show, is Senior Pet Month. So, Cynthia, welcome to the show. And let's just jump right into it. And I want to ask, what inspired you to create Catio Spaces and kind of not just do that as a hobby or an interest, but to turn it into an entire business?
Well, it's been quite a journey, I will say.
I'm sure.
I'm very passionate about design, nature, and animals. And I was never a cat person till a cat meandered into my yard one day. And as it turns out, I ended up having joint custody of her until I became a cat parent officially. And so she was an indoor-outdoor cat. I didn't think anything of safety at that point because she was street smart. But years later, when she passed and I adopted a new kitten, the protective mama bear in me came out, and there was no way I was going to let this cat roam freely. So I transformed my backyard patio into a catio. And one day I was sitting in there with a cup of tea and my cat on my lap, and I was like, wow, I water fountain and plants, and it was like an outdoor sanctuary for me as much as it was for her. And I thought, you know what, I could create these for people. So flash of inspiration, Catio Spaces. I then joined my local Master Builders Association. I got my contractor's license, and I started working with a team of carpenters, designing and building catios.
That is so cool. And, as Chris mentioned in your intro, you have a background in feng shui. You are a designer and now obviously the catio queen. How has your previous experience in those fields shaped what you're doing now with Catio Spaces?
Home is such an important space for humans and for pets. And I love design. And a lot of the catios that, 10 years ago were just wire cages. And when I created mine, and it was more like a she shed for both me and my cats, and the aesthetics are very important. And especially, people have homes and gardens, and we want to make sure that it complements the home. So that was my big driving force, was to make them attractive. And dogs have it a little bit easier because a fenced backyard will contain a dog. They can also go on walks with, a leash, and they're humans. But cats, they can easily scale a fence. And, they want fresh air just as much as dogs do. So I believe a harmonious home supports all family members, including our pets. And they are family members, as pet lovers know. They're a wonderful, joyful addition to our lives.
Absolutely. And speaking of wonderful, joyful additions to our lives, as a fellow cat owner, I need to ask you about your cat, Serena, and how they may have played a role in the creation of Catio Spaces.
Yes, I have a very special kitty. In fact, it was 5 months after my neighbor's cat, who I became cat mom to, after she passed, that I had a dream. And in the dream, I saw the face of this little orange tabby meowing at me urgently. And when I awoke from the dream, I was like, that's my next cat. I need to find her. So I started calling every cat shelter in the Seattle area. And they told me that female orange tabbies are rare. They're usually born as male. And if you're going to adopt kittens, you have to adopt 2. And I was like, I knew it was only 1. Well, anyway, long story short, I found her. And it was really out of a desire to keep her safe that I created my first catio. She is now our chief feline officer and quality assurance expert. She has 4 catios. And so she's a big part of Catio Spaces. She's my inspiration, and I love her dearly.
4 catios and 2 titles. She's doing well for herself. Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, Cynthia, for our cat lover audience who might be interested in building or creating a catio for their cat, what types of catios do you offer? And I know you have plans on your website, right? Give us an idea of the range of types of catios that you recommend.
Catios can be custom, and really the sky's the limit with them. We build custom catios here in Seattle, so they're all very custom. However, we have DIY plans that range from something very small and simple, like a window box, or a narrow, like maybe a 3-foot by 6-foot tall catio that can be nestled right up against the house. That is popular because the cats can enter the catio directly through a window or a door, a cat door and a cat door. So, but there's larger ones that are detached away from the house with cat tunnels. So it really depends on, how much space do you have, and how is the cat going to access the catio? And cat doors are wonderful for that. Like I say, they can be installed in a window, a wall, a door to allow that access.
So we're coming up here on nearly, or maybe we're past it, 10 years of Catio Spaces, which is incredible. But
congratulations.
As we know, you got to keep looking forward. So what's the future hold for Catio Spaces and your plans to keep enriching the lives of cats and their owners?
Well, my vision is that every cat will have safe outdoor access. And I think for me, being able to be on your show, is a great way to spread the word. And I want to continue to be an advocate and an educator in that arena. But also on a grassroots level, every neighborhood forum is posting lost, deceased cats or coyotes in the neighborhood. Yeah. And I think every listener could post when they see something about, those issues, just to say, hey, have you considered a catio? And start to spread the word on more of a grassroots level. So that's some great ways to do that.
Yeah. And one thing we haven't mentioned yet is how the catios also protect wildlife.
Yes, very important. Catios benefit cats in so many ways. Protects them from predators, poisons, pesticides, vehicles. I've had clients whose cats have been locked in a neighbor's garage while they went on vacation. They've been locked in a garage for 10 days. Firemen no longer rescue cats from trees. So catios are going to keep cats safe. They can enjoy the wind in their whiskers. They can get exercise. They can take cat naps in the sun. And when they're big enough, humans can enjoy them as well, because fresh air and nature is good for us too.
Absolutely.
Shared spaces.
Yeah. And so it is Senior Pet Month, November. And I'm just curious if you have any experiences with a senior pet, if a senior pet's come into your life, when it was late in their life, and any sort of impactful stories you may have in that sort of vein.
Absolutely. I think mobility is probably the biggest challenge. We want to stay on top of the vets, in contact with the vets, but mobility is the hardest one. And creating ramps for your pets, whether it's to the bed or out in a catio. But last year I had the opportunity to foster a 100-pound Australian Shepherd named Jake. And it was an end of life situation. I knew our time was limited, but I started out by, putting down rugs, slip-free rugs on my floors so that he could move. He had trouble getting up and down the stairs, and a ramp was not a possibility. It was too steep. So I actually built a dog elevator that was called Jakey's Paws Express. It was posted. I had a little carriage, and he would walk out and go in and drop down, and he was able to go out for his walks. So, depending on the size of the dog, I think the biggest thing is, if their spirit is still there, but they can't move around, how can we make it easier for them? If it's small enough, we can lift them up to the bed or take them outside. But this was one solution, and it was a joy, and also, it was a emotionally hard time as well. But it's sacred time when whether it's your parents or your pets, when they reach their golden years and they're starting to get into end of life, they need extra attention. And it was a blessing, and it was an honor, really, to be able to make his life comfortable right to the very end.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. And I was also thinking about senior cats, how a catio space is such a wonderful way for an older cat who might have arthritis or just not be as active as they used to be, to enjoy the fresh air and watch the birds and the bugs and things like that. And so you offer custom-built catio spaces as well as the DIY plans. I want to make sure everybody knows your website. It's catiospaces.com. And Cynthia, thank you so much for being with us today. I think you deserve an award for your contribution to amazing spaces for our feline companions.
Thank you. Paws up to everybody.
Likewise.
Pets add life.
What a fantastic guest.
She was amazing.
Knowledgeable and natural. And I think catio spaces are awesome. I think if you're thinking about it, just do some research. That's all we're asking. You don't have to invest. It may not be right for you, but head on over to the website, watch some of the videos, just figure it out. I'm just so impressed with the whole concept. I wish I was saying in a little breakdown afterwards, Tiger doesn't go outside anymore. She doesn't desire it. It's not it's just not something she desires. But maybe when it becomes time for us to move to another cat, who knows? We could build a little something on our back deck so that they could enjoy some outdoor spaces. All
right, Chris. So our next guest is one that we had the opportunity to talk with at Super Zoo. So, and this was a really fun interview. She's a really cool veterinarian that you must follow on social media. So let's get to know her better.
We're joined now by Dr. Annie Valuska, who brings over 20 years of animal behavior experience to her role as a principal scientist on Purina's pet behavior team. After a variety of undergraduate research experiences at Kenyon College, Dr. Annie received her PhD in animal behavior from the University of California, Davis, then went on to serve as the postdoctoral behavior research fellow at Disney's Animal Kingdom. So cool.
That is really cool.
Since joining Purina in 2013, Dr. Annie has gotten to use her expertise to serve as the voice of the pet, ensuring that the needs of cats and dogs are kept top of mind in all of Purina's products and outreach efforts. Dr. Valuska, thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
My pleasure.
What a fabulous career you have.
I have the best job in the world.
You must
I'm
love
convinced.
it.
Yes.
You must love it. Tell us about how you got here. Like, what led you? Did you know when you were a little girl that you wanted to work with animals? And
I did.
Yeah.
When I was really little, I thought that meant I could be a veterinarian or a zookeeper. And
those are the only two
those
choices.
were
That's it.
truly
You get
the
two
only
options.
two choices. And so by the time I got to college, I had ruled out both of those as career options. So I went to school for English, and I figured I would just have pets or foster or those kinds of things. So it might have been my very first day on campus. They had a science luncheon for incoming freshmen. And I did not particularly like science. I didn't think I was very good at it, but I wanted to go and get some free food and meet people.
Right.
And the very last seat in the room was filled by a man named Bob Mock, who sat at my table and introduced himself as a professor of animal behavior. And I thought, whoa, that sounds really cool.
Cool.
And so I stayed after, like the nerd that I am, and talked to him, and that was it. He was my mentor all through college.
Wow.
And that put me on the path to a career in animal behavior.
Yeah, I have to ask about the Animal Kingdom thing. Because every time my wife and I go to Disney, we always go to Animal Kingdom and we do the safari. And I'm not a big zoo person because I really don't like that, but the way Animal Kingdom handles it with all the free roaming space and all the research they do. So what was your role like there, and how did you help those animals?
Yeah, so my role was the behavior research fellow, and I really was there to try to solve any problems that came up in terms of the animal well-being. So it was a really interesting 2 years. One day you might be working with baboons, the next you might be working with marabou storks.
I feel like I work with baboons every day.
And so it was really interesting. I will say there's a big contrast between what I was doing at Disney and what I'm doing now at Purina, because you think about it, cats and dogs, we've been co-evolving with them for thousands and thousands of years, and I am still one of 500 scientists at the company learning more about them and how to meet their needs every day.
Every single day.
So we have a lot of information about cats and dogs, and we're still learning about how to take the best care of them. At Disney, there isn't as much knowledge out there on what a marabou stork needs in captivity,
Wow.
and so it was a more challenging job, but it was really, really fun.
We're going to get into talking to you about your social media account, which is really exciting and has really taken off. But I first wanted to ask you, what is your typical day like today at Purina?
Oh, there's no easy answer. That's part of the fun.
Typical day. What is a typical day?
So I do a lot of education. You know, that's part of my role on social media, but I also get to do it with the other scientists and marketers and really, like it said in my bio, serve as the voice of the pet and help the other people at Purina understand that consumer and what their needs are, and just, you know, how cats and dogs see the world, experience the world, and help translate those insights to them so that it makes it into our products and outreach efforts and ensures that pet well-being is really being kept top of mind there.
Absolutely. And so now let's go to the fun stuff. Your channel, Annie Knows Animals, I've heard was like a quick viral success. What's that like, where you start something probably out of passion and interest and have it become successful?
I mean, it's kind of crazy.
And we were talking about TikTok and Instagram, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm bigger on TikTok than Instagram. Instagram was a rough launch. It's like the Wild West over there.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it took a minute for the algorithm to find my
It takes
people.
all of my power not to read our comments on
I read the comments. And on TikTok and now Instagram, for the most part, they truly are really positive. People are sharing that they have a better relationship with their pet than they did before they found my account, which I love to hear. But it was a little rough on Instagram in the beginning. I had one commenter say to me, I actually have this embroidered on a pillow now.
No.
As you should.
What is it?
Get off your high horse, Curly Sue.
Oh man, the 1930s called. They want their insult back.
Gosh.
I died, so I had
That is classic. I love that. So talk to us about what content resonates most with your followers.
Cat content.
Really?
For sure. Yes. And I keep trying to make dog videos. I know just as much about dogs. I think it's important. Dogs are misunderstood too, but it's the cat videos that really take off. And I love that because there isn't as much out there about cats. There's not as much research. There's not as much easy access to people that know about cats.
Right. There's not as many products for cats either.
Yeah, so it's definitely the cat videos, and people seem to really like cats misbehaving, like a cat that's biting somebody, or
we love that. I'm your number one consumer right here. I mean, we had a guy on the show previously who makes like a feature film out of cat videos, and he says he watches 15,000 of them a year, and I said those are rookie numbers. We got to get those numbers up. But as a cat dad, I want to know what's like your headline piece of advice for cat behavior and how to manage a cat who may be misbehaving.
So I would say the too long didn't read version is, if your cat is doing something that you don't like, it's probably your fault.
That's great. We don't need to delve any further into my faults. Okay? I don't think we need to do that on this podcast.
Same thing with your wife. If she's doing something you don't like, it's probably your fault.
Faults, and I'll get it from her. Don't worry about that.
But cats are very misunderstood. People see them as a low maintenance dog,
right?
And they think that they can just get this cat, and as long as they have a litter box, cat's going to be fine. And cats really benefit from routine and exercise and play and interaction with people. And chances are there's not enough of at least one of those things happening if you have a cat that is actively causing problems.
I was going to ask you, what is the number one mistake you think that cat parents make with their cats?
Not enough play.
Not enough play.
They might throw some toys out into a room, and it's the same toys that stay there forever, and they think that that's enough.
And they're expecting the cat to play with the toy, as opposed to, I assume you would encourage interactive play with your cat.
Absolutely. Cats evolved to hunt in order to get their food, and we have taken that hunting experience away from them. They are now, fed out of a bowl. And when you don't replace the hunt, then you end up with a cat that has a lot of extra energy.
Yeah.
If you don't give it an outlet, they're going to find an
find
outlet.
one.
It might not be what you want.
It'll probably be your furniture. In some capacity, your furniture. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff out there, too, with some of these toys that are just more interactive, more engaging. But yeah, I think there's just not enough people out there who feel like they need to play with their cat. You ask a dog owner, like, if you were to poll them, hey, do you need to play with your dog? And most of them would say yes.
Yeah.
But most people would say, they're a cat, they're fine.
Right.
But I don't think cats have a positive way of expressing their frustration.
Cats need better publicists.
Yeah, they do. We got to get our cats a PR person. Yeah, maybe.
I joke in my videos that I am cat PR.
There we go.
Okay, all right. There we go.
We got cat PR in the room with us. It's your fault, people. It's your fault. It's not the cat's fault.
I'm curious, Dr. Valuska, when did you start the accounts on social?
I started in September of last year.
Okay. And then when did you know that it was really taking off?
I still don't feel taken off. But it wasn't too long. It was, I don't know, maybe my fourth video that went over 1 million views. I thought, holy cow, that's a lot
incredible.
of people.
That gets a couple of views. Yeah, it's a pretty high number.
She doesn't feel like she's made it yet.
Yeah.
I mean that is.
I'll take 1 million views right now, right into the camera. I'll take 1 million views. I'll take 1 million views right now.
But it was a video of a cat biting somebody, and the headline of that video was "Cats are so unpredictable." And I came in and said, "No, they're not. Here are all the signs the cat gave that he was about to bite." So it's, that resonated with people.
Yeah, interesting. So why do you think the dog? We talked a little bit about this, but your dog content. Why do you think it's not caught on as quickly?
I think part of it is that the market is a little more saturated. There are a lot of other dog experts, trainers, and veterinarians that talk a lot about dogs, and so I don't think the algorithm is rewarding that kind of content as much. That makes sense. I also think part of it is that, and there are studies to back this up, I've talked about them in some videos, dog people think they know dogs really, really well.
Yeah, that's true.
The science says that they don't, that non-dog owners are actually better at reading dog body language than dog owners are, but I think that is part of the problem.
Well, how long did you go to school for animal behavior?
A long time.
So until you have as many years in university as the good doctor over here, you're not an expert. So maybe you should do a little, humble yourself and do a little learning so you can take better care of your pet.
And follow Annie Knows Animals. Do you have any content coming up we can tease here on the show?
No. I get, at this point, I just get tagged a million times in something, and that's what I make a video about. So it'll probably be a cat biting somebody.
Okay.
There we go. All right. I look forward to it. Well, Dr. Valuska, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Your wealth of information. I'm sure you got a new follower right
Absolutely.
here.
Me too.
100%.
Me too.
And we can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Pleasure to meet you, Curly Sue.
First of all, staring at a younger version of myself, even it just being like a few weeks, strange. Second of all, Annie's awesome. The social media account, all that full, like, being a veterinarian must be so cool. Like, I mean, all those different animals that she's worked with and has found this home at Purina to really help us with cats and dogs. Awesome.
Yeah. I will forever remember her as Curly Sue, though. I'm not going to remember her name.
That insult has worked its way into my vernacular, and it's become poison. So, yes, if you see me on the streets, just know I might tell you to get off your high horse, Curly Sue. It might happen.
The product of the week.
All right, Kristen, my product of the week. Oh, it's tough to do that with a cold. Comes from a company we decided it's pronounced Packaging. And it's no surprise I'm allergic to cats, and especially when I get a little sick, it triggers like my allergies like tenfold. Like I get really sensitive to everything. Because the immune system's not working properly, yada, yada, yada. Plus, it's now cold out. And typically the way I deal with cat allergies is I turn on a fan and open a window. And that is no longer an option. It's too cold for that. So I started hunting around. I'm like, I need a solution. So I ordered this product. It's not here yet. So I haven't been able to try it. But from everything I read, this is a great scientific approach to dealing with your cat allergies. So this product comes from a company called Packaging, and it's a spray that you spray on your room, and it essentially attacks. I'm gonna get sciencey here because they get sciencey, which is why when people explain things using chemistry, I'm like, yeah, of course that works. So the allergen is called FeLD1 in their saliva and dandruff, and that's what causes typical allergic reactions. So they engineer proteins called nanobodies that can bind to and neutralize these cat allergens. So then you just spray this on the air, and the surfaces that you're using, they say about every 3 days. And they say that up to 98% of the allergens are neutralized.
That's incredible. So it's like a room spray? Like a room spray?
Yeah. It comes in like a spray bottle. It looks like it comes in a spray bottle, and then it looks like they have a refill, which I think is really great, environmentally sound. So you're not, constantly reusing those nozzles. And then it looks like they also sell it as, getting even more sustainable, a concentrated powder. And then you mix that with water, and then you put that into your spray bottle. A scientific approach to dealing with allergies, nice sustainable practices. I have not received it yet because I try to order directly from folks' websites whenever I can. And so I was not able to get that Amazon Prime 6-hour delivery. That's, whatever.
Well, I want an update. I want an update when you do get it and try it. I'd love to know if that really works, because that's pretty revolutionary.
Yes. And especially with this time of year, with the cat sort of growing in their winter coat, she's shedding a lot right now. And she's getting it everywhere. And I can find, and I said at the top of the show, she's been a pain in the butt lately. So she's following me everywhere. I get up to go to a different room. She's following me because she thinks I might be getting a snack. I'm like, Tiger,
and she's probably
we're in
intentionally
my bedroom.
shedding more.
Yeah, there's no slices of Land O'Lakes American cheese in here. She goes insane for Land O'Lakes. And I know somebody's probably listening and going, you shouldn't feed your cat cheese. She's 21. She gets a little bit of cheese. The cat could have a small little bit of Land O'Lakes American cheese as a treat. And then I'm curious as to why she's bothering me all the time. It's because I'm giving her snacks whenever I go to the refrigerator. But
it's you've trained her to do that, so you cannot blame Tiger.
Trained me. She has trained me to do that.
True.
But hey, if I can make it through the winter months a little less sniffly, I'll consider this a win.
Yeah. So you said Packagen is the name of the company. Is that the name of the product too?
Yeah. And the link will be in our description here. But that's
cool.
You can find their products at Packagen, which is PACAGEN.com.
Okay, cool. All right. We'll want an update. All right. So my product of the week is something I have been using all week. I'm super excited to tell you guys about it. Now, unfortunately, this is called the Pet Stain Eraser by Bissell. And unfortunately, and I think I mentioned this on last week's show, Tulip had a bout with gastroenteritis about 2 weeks ago now. And so unfortunately, she was having accidents in the home, both front end accidents and back end accidents, if you know what I mean. And before we moved here to North Carolina, I had a Bissell Spot Bot Pet, which is this amazing little carpet cleaner for pet stains. And I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it didn't make it in the move. So I was scrambling around to figure out how to get these stains up. And I went online and found this really cool handheld pet stain eraser. And all you do is super lightweight. You just charge it up. You put your stain formula in the back here. You just turn it on and it will suction. Well, first of all, it sprays. This little sprayer, I know this is probably hard to show, but this little sprayer will spray the solution onto your carpet. Obviously, you have to pick up the mess first, as much of it as you can. And then this little guy here is the suction area, and it also has a little brush, which you can take on or off, depending on whether or not you want to, agitate it into the carpet. This thing works great. And I even took some before and after pictures because I wanted to showcase it on the blog. So I'm really happy with it. It was $89. It was, definitely a great purchase. I think every pet owner needs to have some kind of tool for when those front and back end accidents happen from time to time, whether it's, an illness or just, maybe you stayed gone too long and didn't let the dog out in time. But yeah, that's my tip. And I'll drop an Amazon link into the show notes.
Aren't vacuums amazing?
What do we do without them? Oh, and besides, every purchase you make of a Bissell pet cleaning product saves pets' lives because they have the Bissell Pet Foundation. They donate a portion of the proceeds to that.
I think we had someone from the Bissell Pet Foundation on the show early on in the PAL podcast history.
Yeah, we may have done that.
Maybe. If not,
I don't think
maybe we'll have them in the future. I feel like we did. I really feel like we did.
Okay. We got to look back.
For those of you taking notes at home, because I know we have listeners out there who exist primarily to correct Chris on the internet. Go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong. If we've had a guest from the Bissell Foundation. But that's great. I mean, I have a Dyson version of the same thing, and that kind of stuff is a lifesaver because we have a fully carpeted second floor, and the cat seems to go out of her way when she's sick to go onto the carpet
to find the carpet.
Yeah, I suppose it's just more comfortable. I mean, if you're gonna throw up, you might as well be comfortable about it. So, well, that's great. Good recommendation, Kristen.
Thank you.
Q&As.
Our other favorite part of the show, which is where we answer 2 questions from 2 guests. And I usually toss the cat questions to you, Chris. So
typically,
do you mind if I do that again this week?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So let me find it first. Where'd it go? Here it is. Okay, so this question came in from Lisa. and Lisa's in Portland, Oregon, that is. She says, I know mental stimulation is important for cats, but my indoor cat seems uninterested in most toys. What are some effective ways to keep her mentally engaged and happy?
So I hear most toys, and I think there's this misconception. It's almost like the new wave of parenting and like the tablet kids. Like, you don't just give the cat the toy and expect them to play with it. Like, it's a two player game. It's like it's like an activity. So you can't just put like a little mouse on the ground and expect the cat to go nuts over it. Like, what you really need to be doing is activating their predator instinct in some capacity. So like, the cat wands are great, but you got to move it around, or, some type of, they have those like long ribbons that you pull across the ground, or even there are some automatic versions. I've talked about a couple of products and product of the week where it's like a ball that you put on the ground and you turn it on and it starts sort of bouncing around erratically. Those are the things that are going to get a cat excited. Now, that said, if the cat is genuinely not interested in any of that, you could just have a lazy cat. They exist. They're real. And if you bring them to the vet and the vet's like, they're at a healthy weight, everything seems to be okay. Maybe your cat just doesn't care. Maybe your cat is just a couch surfer, a couch potato, wants to watch dog TV all day, surf Netflix, like that. And that's fine. But it's important that you give them the opportunities for these enrichments. And I'll leave you on this as well. Some cats are incredibly food motivated. So they may have, at a younger age, played with toys and then not gotten anything out of it, because the predator instinct is, if I kill this thing, I'm going to eat, right? So you may need to find like treat puzzles or other type of food-based enrichment activities where they're going to do the thing and then they're going to get something out of it at the end. And that might trigger some stuff in their brain to participate in the future.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, if all else fails, we just talk to Cynthia. You can just build a catio for your cat.
Yeah, just build that catio, do it by hand, make it really nice because your cat deserves it. Right. But thank you, Lisa, for the question. And I've got one for you, Kristen, from Mark, your neighbor in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, Charlotte. Okay, yeah, that is pretty close.
Yeah, Mark asks, what monthly preventatives should I be giving my pet to ensure they stay healthy? I'd love advice on essentials like flea, tick, and heartworm prevention.
That's a great question, Matt. Thank you for that. This is really something that you should talk to your veterinarian about, but you already laid out the questions for the veterinarian, because typically the important preventatives are, as you said, flea and tick, heartworm, and intestinal parasites, which is often combined with the heartworm medication. But there are some things that would vary based upon your geographic location and the climate. Certain parasites are more prevalent in some areas than others, your dog's age and their size. And if there are any local disease risks, there may be, such as Lyme disease, there may be other preventatives that your veterinarian would recommend. And also lifestyle plays into that too. If your dog spends a ton of time outdoors, maybe you go hiking with your dog, versus, having a couch potato at home, that could also impact the decision or the recommendation that your vet has. But I would say this, that once you determine, after talking with your vet about which specific brand of product they recommend, that you be very consistent with it. Because I was just talking to a friend of mine who has a dog who just admittedly, she skipped a few months of giving her dog the monthly chewable, and lo and behold, she now has fleas in her house. She only noticed one or two fleas on the dog, but they had already, so she's dealing with that. Now, there are a lot of natural products that kind of prevent and kill fleas, ticks, other parasites. I have not used them, so I'm not going to be able to tell you if I think they're effective or not. I do know that they require sometimes daily application. So if you're interested in that, talk to your vet about that as well. But we over here, Tulip and I swear by her monthly flea and tick and her heartworm preventative, which, by the way, she's on a new one now that's every 3 months for heartworm. So just make sure you put it on your calendar. That's how I remember.
Yeah, tell your Alexa or your Siri to remind you in 3 months.
Yeah.
They yell at you, because I would forget. Yeah, I would easily.
Yeah, and you know what else I do too? A little quick tip is on the box. I usually will write the date that I actually gave it to her.
Oh,
so, you know,
very responsible of you.
Yeah, you know, that's me. That's how I roll. I'm a rule follower.
Thank you, Mark, for the question. Thank you, Kristen, for your insightful answer. And hey, I know what you're wondering. You just heard those questions and you're like, wait, I got a question for Chris and Kristen. Well, you're in luck, bucko, because if you head on over to petsadlife.org/podcast, scroll on down to the bottom of that page, you're going to see a form where you could submit your question. And if you're feeling as brave as Chris during allergy season, you can submit a voice memo and you may actually hear your question played live on these airwaves. So go ahead, be brave, submit your questions, and you'll be hearing from us. But in the meantime, Kristen, I think that brings us to the end of this week's show.
Oh, that went by so quickly.
It always does. It always does. I guess, you know what? Let's just rant for a little bit because I feel like the people deserve another minute of our presence.
Okay.
for their whether they're listening to this on Tuesday. I imagine most people, they wake up, right? I'm putting myself, we always say, like, put yourself in the mind of your customer. They wake up Tuesday morning and it sucks because it's Tuesday. It's the worst day of the week. And they're like, wow, things are really, really rough today. And they get into their car and they turn it on. And then suddenly they hear that Pets Ad Life jingle. Their smile brightens. The color returns to their face. They're optimistic. They could see a future where they're happy. They could see.
Do you know how many people have tuned out now?
Because they can't make it.
It's just you and me talking at this point.
It's just an empty room and Chris and Kristen talking. But hey, if you are one of those people who wake up every Tuesday and listen to us, thank you so much. If you could do us a favor, share the show with a friend who is a person. Don't share it with your cat or dog because Spotify and Apple and iHeartRadio, they don't count those as listeners. Okay. We need the real listeners. So go ahead, share that with a friend. If you're following us on socials, you should be. If you're not, you should be. Go ahead and drop a comment in our reels. If you want to see us change something with the show, if you have constructive feedback, just be nice. I'm sensitive. Okay. Just be positive. I'm a very sensitive boy. So be nice in those comments. If we got something wrong, correct us. I love being corrected on the internet. It's my favorite. I love it. I love it when strangers on the internet correct me. But in the meantime, we'll be relaxing. I'll be trying to get over this cold. Kristen will be enjoying her last few weeks of warm weather before autumn catches up with her down there in the south. What's your temperature at right now, Kristen? I'm curious.
Well, when I woke up, it was 42. But I think the high today is going to be the low 70s, so that's not too bad.
That must be nice. I think we've hit our high because the sun appears to already be setting. It's not even noon, and it's a brisk 40 degrees outside here in Connecticut. So we're in the dog days now. But hey, listeners, join us next Tuesday, and until then, be kind to yourself, be kind to your animals, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Bye-bye.